The big story this week is in education. Kentucky Department of Education released new data showing how students performed in the state testing for the 2024-25 school year. Nearly all subject areas showed measurable improvement among Kentucky students. The percentage of elementary, middle, and high school students performing at proficient or distinguished levels of math, reading, and social studies almost all increased or maintained from the year before. Elementary school social studies dropped by 1 point in one area of high school writing, that is editing and mechanics, showed a small decline while other areas maintained. Education Commissioner Dr. Robbie Fletcher said the results were for him between an A+ or a B+ and an A-.
The key word is improvement, and that's what we're thankful to see is improvement and growth in our students. We need those literacy coaches. We need those numeracy coaches that are out in classrooms that are helping teachers to develop lessons, to observe and to give feedback. So I think, first of all, I would say continue that support on literacy, but also increase the numeracy funding.
Fletcher credited Kentucky lawmakers for boosting math and reading support in 2022's Read to Succeed Act and 2024's Numeracy Counts Act, and said the results are showing a return on investment that he hopes lawmakers will consider in the next budget. So let's open it up. Representative Roarx, I want to start with you here. Does a report like this make lawmakers more keen to spend more money in education?
I mean, I certainly hope so. So what's exciting about the upcoming budget is we really do have opportunities to add more school resource officers to every school in Kentucky. We have opportunities to change our SEEK formula to make sure that our students with disabilities are getting increased funding structures, because we know that it takes more money to educate students with different abilities.
Representative Lockett, what do you think of these results?
I think they are good. They're exciting. I'm always glad to see increases, but we have to keep in mind they're still not where we want them to be. We've got a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of students that cannot read or write on grade level. And when we look at districts that spend on average about $20,000 per student, then we have to look at where are those funds going? Are they going to where they should be, which is the classroom?
And that goes to where I want to take us next, which is, even though we're celebrating improvement here, we still have more than half of Kentucky students that are testing below that proficient distinguished level. So, is there anything that can at least happen in Frankfort to sort of start pushing kids over that threshold?
I think a great example, again, is funding. When you look at over $20,000 per student, we ought to see results that our students are excelling, and we don't. And a lot of the reason, I believe, is because a lot of that $20,000 is not actually making it to the classroom. It's getting stuck at the top. Fayette County Schools is a great example. You've got a superintendent that over the last 10 years, his salary increased by over 50%. You've got 25% of the staff of Fayette County that make over $100,000 a year. That's crazy. The money should be going to the students, to the classrooms, to the teachers to make sure that our numbers continue to go up.
Representative Roarx, what do you think?
I think in addition to that, we are also looking at, again, those funding mechanisms to make sure that they are equitable across the state. We know that there's certain schools that have greater needs, and we need to make sure that those monies are going to the students to make sure that we are kind of closing those gaps that we see. Certain schools have a lot more resources and other schools need a lot more dedicated towards them.
We may talk about this a little bit further into the show when we talk about our overall session preview, but when we look at the next budget, there's been some talk that there may be some new challenges that lawmakers may face when it comes to putting all those numbers together. There's not any COVID money left over. Could there be any sort of challenges that y'all think of in your minds when it comes to education funding whenever there's perhaps maybe a smaller pot of money we're working with?
I think it's important to see that we have actually allocated more to education than any time in history. And we're not going to back down from that. We're not going to change that. We always want to make sure that our public education is properly funded. And so does it get more? I don't know the answer to that. We want to make sure that what we are spending gets results, and so far the results have not been outstanding, and so that always comes into play in that conversation.
Representative Roarx?
I think we have to look at things like adjusting for inflation. When we looked at the numbers last time, we had not actually used the most up-to-date numbers when it came to transportation cost. And so those are things that we as legislators have to take really seriously as we're crunching these numbers to make sure that we have the most up-to-date data as we're doing this financial analysis.
Another sidebar on this that may come before lawmakers, not sure how much y'all may have your hands on it, but Dr. Fletcher's been talking about a reform of the state accountability system, bringing in more an adaptive assessment in math and reading, ways to track individual growth, bringing in local partners. I'm not really sure what that would look like on the school side. It's been a few years since I've been out of school, but what are those conversations like? Are they happening right now amongst lawmakers, and is that going to turn into some sort of legislation next year?
I think one of the difficult things when you look at assessments is that across Kentucky over the years, those have constantly changed. The feedback that I've gotten from, say, principals or superintendents have said it's difficult to say this year versus last year sometimes because that assessment is different. And so when we take a look at how all of that boils down into actually how we're doing, we want to keep that in mind. I don't know that that lends itself towards any type of legislation, but we want to see results. And the money that we are putting in record levels adjusted towards inflation, we want to see those results as our investment.